what's up everyone, GameDad here, coming at you guys with a new Let's Fix video. Now, a very common thing that happens with old cartridge games is the battery dies in them. Now, a lot of people, they just figure, great, you know, I can't save it anymore, or maybe I have to go replace it. Now, if it's something in the case of maybe an old Pokemon game, and you still want to be able to save, and you really don't want to go spend today's prices on one of those games because they can get pretty pricey nowadays, then what you can do is spend just a little bit of money and a little bit of time, and even if you have only basic soldering skills, you should be able to do this, and that is take your game that needs a new battery and put that new battery in it. So this right here is just a little pre-tabbed cell battery, and we're going to take this, solder it into this, and breathe new life into the cartridge. So come with me as I walk you through the process of how to remove the old battery out of the game, put the new one in, and all of a sudden you get to save again. Alright, so I have the iron all heated up. All we got to do now is just open up this cartridge, take out the old battery, solder the new one in. And I am using a 6040 rosin core solder right here, and just a generic little Radio Shack iron, nothing crazy on there. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew this. Set that little screw and the screwdriver aside. And get this guy open. Nice little slide in there. So it looks like this actually at some point in time somebody had already replaced the battery in it. So we're going to go ahead, get that out of the case. We don't want to melt the plastic. We are going to remove this battery. So maybe something was just up with this one and that's why it doesn't work properly anymore. But we're going to remove this. We're going to add this and go from there. Alright, so I have my trusty solder braid right here. We're going to use that to help remove the old solder. So we're just going to get that heated up a little bit. And it's important to note, make sure you do things like this in a well-ventilated area because solder fume is of course toxic. So I'm just going to press that braid down, and that will help soak up that solder that's there. The last of it. Let's see, is it breaking free yet? Almost. Okay, get this side a little bit more. And what this braid does is it helps pull up the loose solder up into it. So these pads are just very heavily soldered onto here. That's why they are giving me a bit of grief. There we go, broke that one free. Let's go ahead and get the second one. There we go, almost. Now it's very important, do not touch the battery itself with the iron because batteries have a nasty habit of exploding under extreme heat. That would not be fun for anyone involved. So I'm just going to clean up these contacts a little more. Excellent. So we got that old battery off. Now we go put the new battery on. And you can actually see, it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but up here is plus, down here is minus. So you just match that up with the battery itself. It will tell you which side is the plus side and which side is the minus side. In addition to finding out the plus and minus side, so we're going to go ahead and flip this. Plus is on the bottom, but it also makes it so you can't flip it upside down because otherwise the tabs will not reach. So we're going to go ahead and just plop this in place. Got a nice little spot for it right there. Then I'm going to take some of my solder, and the way I do it is I just heat up that spot, drop a little solder down onto it, that way you can kind of tack it in place. Now with it tacked in place like that, it will make it a lot easier to get your next little spot. So again, I am just going to throw down the iron and then just put some solder down right on top of that contact. There we go, nice and flowed. Go ahead and clean off the tip of that. Check the connection. And yep, nice solid connection on that battery. Now for me, I'm a little OCD, so I kind of want to clean up that first contact where all I did was tack it down, just so it's a nice solid contact. There's no room for any kind of like oxidation or anything like that to get in there. But using a rosin core, that shouldn't be an issue anyways. There we go. Throw a little bit more down in there. Much better. Nice solid spot. I'm just going to add a little bit more solder to this side. I don't like seeing that divot. There we go. Remember, always be safe with your soldering iron. It is very, very hot. And as you can see, the new battery, let's go ahead and focus in on that, is soldered on, and this is now ready to play again. So let's go ahead and put it back into its little tray here. Okay, it's always good to give it a few seconds to cool down. Don't want it to melt anything. Then we just put that on there, slide it back, flip that guy over, and then put its little game bit screw back in there. And there we go. The battery has been replaced. Now I can actually save my game on this Japanese copy of Pokemon Gold. So there you have it, everyone. That is how you do a battery swap on a cartridge game. Now this works for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. It also works on things like Super Nintendo games, Sega games. You just have to pay attention to which battery type you need to get for it. So for example, for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, stuff like that, typically it is a CR2025, but in the case of this video, I went ahead and put a 2032 in. Now they are the same voltage, it's 3 volts, but it gives you a little bit of a bigger battery, and even though it's bigger, it still fits in there, which means it will also last longer for you. So you get more life out of the battery. So instead of it being dead, 5-10 years from now, you might get a couple extra years out of it. And that's fine with me. Now, a word of warning. Remember, you are doing soldering here. So you do have a hot iron, and if you don't have a lot of experience with this, feel free to check out YouTube, find out some basic soldering skills, and make sure that you stay safe while doing something like this, especially when it comes to the battery. Do not put the iron directly on the battery. It will heat it up, and the battery itself could explode, causing injury, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone. So please remember, with any of these Let's Fix, just remember to stay safe. Now, if you have any questions, or if you have ever done one of these battery replacements, let me know down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, or happy to discuss anything related to this. And while you're down there, please be sure to also hit those like and subscribe buttons, as well as that little notification bell so you get an alert every time I got a new video coming out. Now, as always, I'm GameDad. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later.